Welcome, you guys. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Chloe Ballatori. I'm a relationship and communication expert. I'm a graduate of Princeton University and Pat Allen's Want Institute. And I use the tools of transactional analysis as created by Eric Byrne. I use the tools of androgynous semantic realignment, which was created by Pat Allen, who was also my mentor. And I use tools that I've created myself because I've been doing this work for 12 or 13 years now. I'm also over 20 years married. Actually, this year will be my 23rd anniversary. So 23 years married, 26 years together. So everything that I'm teaching you guys, I have gone through myself. I have vetted myself in addition to having worked with thousands of people. So, what I'm going to do is give a brief background on the scholarship that underpins this work. And that stuff is very established. But I just want to let you guys know that everything I'm teaching you, all the tools I'm teaching you, do have a basis in psychological and scientific scholarship. What's unique about this work are the tools to execute on that scholarship. So I'm going to give a background of the scholarship, and then for the rest of the time, I'm going to take your questions. And that's where you're really going to understand what we're talking about. Because until we actually engage with this work and engage with these tools, it's just an intellectual exercise. That's what I actually really love about this work is that there are things to do, and there's been a lot kind of in the zeitgeist recently about intellectualizing your problems and overthinking things. And I think that these are traps that we are prone to fall into. And so what I love about this work is that there's always things to do. It's all about taking an action or an inaction in order to get what you want. And everything is driven by getting what you want. Now, sometimes that takes a minute to discover exactly what it is. We have a lot of messages that we've gotten from childhood, from society, right? From our parents, from our peers. And so part of this work can be simply identifying what we want. As humans, we tend to be very poor at predicting what we want. So I'm often working with people who are thinking they want X, Y, and Z, for example, and then they get a whole lot of A, B, C in a man, and they're very happy. So, one of the most important things when you are engaging with dating, with relationships, with life in general, really, is keeping an open mind because sometimes the answer is right in front of you, but you can't see it because you have been scripted or trained to ignore certain things. And I'll give you a quick example of that. I had a client who was just starting up a volleyball league and he met somebody in the volleyball and the guy said, "Oh, I've seen you before. You go to XY gym. I see you there every morning at 7." He's like, "No way, no way, no way." And sure enough, he went to the gym and from thence forward began to see this guy, but he swore he had never seen him before. Yet obviously the guy was there because he identified him. And so it's just points out how simply knowing about the existence of him or simply being interested in this other person allowed him to see that person. When you're doing this work, literally you'll wake up in the same surroundings sometimes and they will look totally different. And that's how you know you're moving along, right? You're progressing. And that's who this work really is for people who want to do more with their lives than just eat sandwiches. They want to learn about themselves. They want to engage with the world. They want to have relationships with people. They want to get better. They want to live trigger free. So this work, I've never seen results from any work like I have seen with this work. Now, inherently, change is painful. So even while we're making changes for the better, you will notice that there will be a point where you want to stop because you are going through pain. And so it's really important to understand that there's two kinds of pain: the pain that change needs to take place, and the pain that change is already taking place. And I think this is one of the most underexplored areas of psychology in general because, once people start making changes, it gets painful and they don't like it and they want to stop. But if you stop, it really does make things worse. So it's best to try to hang in there when you start your spiritual and psychological work, especially if you know you're making changes for the better, even though it's painful. And I just think a lot of people don't expect that it will be as painful as it is. Um, there's a great book about that called The Brain That Changes Itself by Norman Deutsch. And he talks a lot about the pain of change in the context of stroke victims. But you can think of it as a physical injury as well. If you've had trauma or physical trauma, you know that the painful moment wasn't necessarily breaking your arm. The painful moment was starting to get your arm back into use, right? So a lot of this work is not necessarily about handling trauma, but about handling joy. And when I talk about trauma, I'm specifically talking about childhood trauma because most problems in relationships stem from childhood trauma. Now, that's things that happen between the ages of 0 and 12, and whether that was trauma with a big T by ill-meaning parents or trauma with a small t by well-meaning parents doesn't matter as much as how you experienced it and how you process that trauma. And so the things that happen between 0 to 12 occurred during so many critical windows for humans that they have a greater power than anything really that happens after that. And this is when we begin to develop our ideas about the world. And in order to attach to the people that control our lives as children, because let's face it, human children are very, very dependent. Um, in order to attach to them, we often have to sacrifice a part of our authenticity when we're kids. And so we conclude that authenticity must be sacrificed in order to attach, only to find later as grown-ups that that's not true. And so when we do this when we're adults, what was really just a strategy to survive has now percolated and created in our heads what we believe are existential truths. And that's when we begin to get into trouble in our relationships. So when we have problems with childhood trauma, those almost always surface in our relationships first. And we don't just necessarily grow out of trauma. You have to be conscious, you have to process these things consciously. Um, Otherwise, they will ultimately manifest in your body as disease. And there's a great book about that by Gabor Mate called When the Body Says No. Also, The Myth of Normal is his most recent book. Both of those books really talk about the mind-body connection that I'm referring to here. Okay, so when we're looking at successful relationships and we're trying to engineer a successful relationship, what we look for is balance, and specifically balance between masculine and feminine energies. All of us are both. All of us have a very feminine side, which is the right side of the hemisphere of the brain, and this is the yin energy. This is passive, patient, vulnerable. This is the energy of receiving. It's the world of feelings, of creativity, of sensuality, of sexuality, of magic. Feminine energy is in the world to make it fun, but it's not of the world. And then all of us have this left lobe of our brains, which is the yin or the yang or masculine energy. And this is the area of single-minded thought, doing, achieving, competing, conquering, controlling, taking care of, giving. Most of us are in our masculine energy when we're at work, for example, because that's all about doing and achieving and, competing against other people. It's not about feelings, right? And which that would be the right hemisphere of the brain. So all of us are both. One is not better than the other. And all of us have a unique balance that shifts as we get older because we have women go through menopause, men go through andropause, women become a little bit more masculine, men become a little bit more feminine through that. That doesn't mean you can't still maintain your identity, but these are just forces for you guys to know about so you can navigate your dating, your relationships, your specifically your relationship with yourself with a little bit more knowledge. Okay. So now I'm going to take your questions, and my specialty is dating and relationships, but I also take questions about issues of communication, issues with families, work situations, because the principles of this work translate to every area of life, because they're true, because they're universal. Last week we had someone come in who really I've only worked with in the context of her romantic relationship, but she's taken these tools and used them with her relationship with her mother and had a great success, which I love. So I also love to hear how you guys are using the tools out in the world and how it's going, what your update is from using them. And you can put your question in the chat. You can raise your hand. I feel like I missed. Okay. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, Chloe.
Welcome. Welcome back. How can I help you?
So I had a follow-up question from last week. Now the guy I am talking to is someone at work. Um, and I don't know, like it's just very confusing because the um the person that I mentioned who was like the aggressive woman who is like watching his every move and like basically like hovering over him, she is still around, and I know you said that's not a fault on his part, but I'm just wondering why he doesn't set boundaries with her, it's almost like he's encouraging this, and then the thing that worries me though is the fact that if she's in her aggressive masculine energy, and if he's supposed to be masculine and he's allowing this, that means he's in his feminine energy, you know?
But you guys are at work.
Yeah, we are at work, but like I'll just give you an example. So what happened was I was leaving at lunch to go run an errand. And we have those turnkey things like before when you leave you have to go through this badge system. So everyone was going inside because they just had their lunch. They were going up to the building and I was waiting for them to get in so I could leave. So I was just waiting there while a bunch of people were coming. Well, this guy saw me and he stopped everyone behind him. He's like, come on out because obviously you're leaving. And I
Mm-hmm.
was so embarrassed because I was not expecting him to.
But that was so chivalrous and nice.
Yeah, well, the thing is that that girl was right. The girl was with him at that time, and so she basically is tied at the hip with him, so she stopped as well, and she was watching our interaction. And then I left, said thanks, and I left. But see, that's what I'm talking about. You see how she's always hovering over him.
Yeah, but she didn't do anything and she didn't prevent him from being masculine to you.
That's
I
true.
know it's a concern because we're all kind of conditioned to think like if we want something, go after it, right?
Yeah.
And you see this girl, she's in the masculine going after this guy. She wants him, right? And
Mhm.
so it's triggering to you because you're like, you want to compete.
But
But
that's not my nature. Like, I'm not really
exactly,
competitive that way?
right. And so you have to just believe and you just accept so far they're not dating, right?
No, and he has known her for years. I mean,
Okay, so
at
it's
least.
probably not going to happen. So, she's triggering you for whatever reason, but it's not, she's really not she's not affecting anything. She's not going to prevent you from getting the guy. If the guy is feminine and he wants a masculine woman, then he will be interested in her. But it doesn't sound like he's that feminine, and you maybe could put a little bit more faith in him.
That's true.
It's like you think this girl's just like, if this girl can just knock out his interest that easily, you know?
But she's doing all the things that you've been talking about with the five. Well, I don't know if she's doing the five flirts, but she's doing the whole eye contact thing with him. I mean, she's holding his interest like more than 5 seconds. It's like she's holding his interest all through lunch, you know?
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, she's competing in a very obvious way. You can decide if that's going to push you into your masculine and you want to compete with her, if you just want to stay in your feminine. But regardless, I don't want you to get too hyper focused on this one guy. He hasn't
Mhm.
even asked you out yet.
I know.
Where are the two other guys?
I haven't gotten like I mean I need to do that because see
Right.
I'm
You don't
doing
need to fixate on this girl. Go find two other guys.
yeah, that's the thing. Like, I'm still panicking with the eye contact. I have so much to do. I have to figure out where to find these people, then do the eye contact thing, then plant myself. It's just a lot
How
of
are you
work.
doing with the eye contact with the guy at work that you like?
It's not 5 seconds. No.
Right. So
It's
that's why you're jealous of this girl,
oh,
because she can do it and you can't. But you can
okay.
do it. You're gonna get there. And it's not a race anyway.
Right. Right.
Just keep at it. It always takes longer than you want it to take. In general, life, things we want, this work, psychological work, change, often takes longer than we want it to take. In my experience, it's like, I want change, I want change, I'm working on it, I'm working on it. And then I get really frustrated and it feels like things will never change. And that's usually like a couple weeks before things change.
Hmm. Yeah.
So hang in there. Don't get hyper focused on this other girl who has no bearing in your life and doesn't deserve any attention. Go find your other two guys.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And good job. Like, I love that you're engaging. I love that you're interested in somebody new. I know that's been a big deal for you. Um, for the rest of you guys, the reason that I'm saying for Elizabeth to get two more guys is because ideally, and this is especially important for women, ideally you're dating three people at once. One person, if you're just dating one person, or if you're only crushing on one person, in this case, she's not even dating the guy yet. If you're only crushing on one person, then everything comes down to that person and it becomes very all or nothing. If you have two people, then it's like either or. If you have three people, it's a good balance. And so that's what helps you not get too freaked out, wrapped up, spiraling too much on somebody that you're not even in a relationship with. That's why I'm saying three. Okay. So, okay. Who else has a question or
I
update?
Chloe,
Right.
Ashmi private messaged me. He said he had a he has a question. I'm not sure what it is.
Who is? Who?
Ashman?
Ashman. Okay. Hi, Ashman.
Hi, Chloe. Can you hear me?
I can. How can I help you?
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, by the way. Okay. See, I have a little problem that, I just want to ask and get some perspective on this. So I live here in LA and, I have a good job and I have a great career going on. But
You have a what?
yeah, can you hear me fine?
I can. I heard you say you have a good job, but I didn't understand what you said after that.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that, I have a good career here. I have a job, and I'm super young. I'm 29 years old. So, my career part of my life is good right now. But when it comes to dating, I have this big challenge which I'm not able to understand how should I fix it. And the problem is that when I go to all these social events, I see a lot of girls and women around me. And I'm not able to have the kind of conversation that I want with them. And sometimes when you approach somebody, you don't get the kind of attention from them, because of which I don't know how should I fix this. And then there is this fear of rejection.
Of
And
course.
because of which what ends up happening is I don't even try. Because I think that, okay, if I try, I'm going to fail, I'm going to get rejected, and then, it's going to be depressing for me. So
Okay.
I need your perspective. Like,
Okay. Yes.
how
Yes.
can I
Yes.
improve this?
Okay. This is Nelson's question too from the chat. Okay. This is good.
Oh, yeah.
So we have a little theme going here. Okay. So first of all, we're never going to eliminate rejection completely,
Okay.
right? As long as there's acceptance, there's rejection. That's the nature of life on earth, right? That's the nature of duality. So rejection is part of the game. But you can desensitize to rejection. And the tools I'm going to give you are going to mitigate the amount of rejection you have. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you a way to approach women. And what I want you to do is I'm going to give you what's known as the five flirts. And these are in my first book, How to Live. I've written four books on this work.
And
They're all on Amazon. If you guys, here, I'll put that in the chat. If you guys want to check those out. And the first book has a lot of the basics in it. Okay, so the five flirts means that you're going to be flirting 5 days a week. Do you know? Do you want to have in your romantic relationship, which is more important to you? Do you want to get your thoughts respected or do you want to get your feelings cherished? Everybody wants both, but which is more important?
Uh, I certainly want to feel good about this, so feelings certainly are important.
Okay. So if your feelings cherished, then that's technically the yin or the feminine position, which is absolutely fine. Sometimes, even if you're born a man, you still feel more authentic in feminine energy. And even if you're born a woman, you'll feel more authentic in masculine energy. We're all both, like I said. So if you want to get your feelings cherished, though, then you have to understand you're going to be giving up control to the woman. So technically, you won't be making the approach. You will be waiting for the woman to approach you. Is that what you want?
Well, that I don't think is going to happen very easily.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you what it would be for the feminine and what it would be for the masculine, and then you can try which thing you think is best. People get confused on this topic because everybody wants their feelings cherished and everybody wants their thoughts respected. But you can't these tools are for awkward situations like first dates, like approaching women, men, whatever. And also for conflicts. Okay, you don't have to do them all the time, but they really come in handy for awkward situations and for conflicts. And the reason that you don't say, I feel this way and I think this, and you don't go for the cherishing and the respecting at the same time is because then the other person you're relating to has nowhere to go. If you take up all the feelings and the thoughts, that's an act of narcissism. And so this naturally brings the communication into balance when one person holds more of the feminine energy and one person holds more of the masculine energy. And that's true even if you're a homosexual couple, right? Because there's still a butch and a femme, there's still a top and a bottom. This is what we mean by a balance in the relationship. And that balance is often achieved through communication. Okay. So these flirts are going to mean that 4 days a week, if you see a woman that catches your eye, you like her, you're interested in her, you're going to give her 5 seconds of eye contact and smile at the same time.
Okay.
If she returns that, that means she's interested. And then you can decide if you want to approach, which would be the masculine, he who speaks first is masculine, or if you want to let her approach. And if she approaches, then you got to show her respect. Okay. And if you approach, you have to show her cherishing. And I know that sounds maybe a little abstract and vague, but as you start engaging and when you go to do it and you start thinking about, well, what does that mean to cherish somebody's feelings? Well, what does that mean to respect someone's thoughts? That's part of the work. Okay, 1 day a week, you're going to plant yourself somewhere where you like the look of the women. Maybe it's outside a yoga class, a coffee shop near a yoga class. Maybe it's the dog park. Maybe it's the tennis courts. Wherever you think you like the look of the women that are going there and you might meet somebody. Go alone, bring a book, bring your phone, plant yourself for 45 minutes to an hour and see, doing your eye contact and smiling, if you can't get something going. Flirting is all about eye contact. Okay. So just like Elizabeth was saying, it sounds really easy, but it isn't as easy as it looks for some people. And I used to take clients out, like, we'd go out and I'd show them how the flirting went. And, it's kind of amazing how well it works. So, yeah, it is hard. Mundo's
Uh,
saying it's hard. So, does
uh,
that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I have tried this myself before, but I would tell you this in a social scenario like a bar or a dance class or a yoga class where there are, let's say, 100 women and 100 guys. It's like what I have seen is even if you smile at somebody, like with so many guys around, you don't like, there's hardly anybody who even looks at you or, takes that much time or effort in looking at you and smiling and then giving you that signal. So if that doesn't happen, like
Yeah, if
usually
that
when
doesn't happen, don't approach.
don't approach. Okay.
Yeah.
So before approaching, you are saying that it's important to smile and see if the other person.
Smile and have eye contact for 5 seconds.
Okay.
If the woman just does a quick smile, she's probably not interested. But
Okay.
if she returns the smile and the eye contact
Yeah.
for like 3 to 5 seconds,
Okay.
then you can approach.
All right. Okay.
And when you approach, decide if you're approaching masculine. If you approach and you're coming from the masculine, then you need to lead with your thoughts and say something that will make her feel good. Don't try to reinvent the wheel, but
Okay.
just, say something that will make her feel good, like that looks like a good book, or that's a pretty sweater, or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a big deal. If she already gave you the eye contact and smile,
Yeah.
she's you don't have to come up with like the most intellectually stimulating piece of conversation.
Okay. Okay. I got it.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
so give that a try and then come
Yes.
back and let us know how it goes.
Okay. I would. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so I'm seeing, Nelson, that you're putting in here, women respond better if you're a good-looking guy. Okay, so this is the general perception that better good-looking people go on more dates. It's actually not true. Average-looking people date more than very good-looking people, because people are intimidated by very good-looking people, first of all. A, and B, very good-looking people are sometimes a liability. I had a client who actually ended up, well, I came to her after this, but she married an incredibly good-looking man. He was from Italy and he just was one of those guys, a 10. And he was so good looking that his opportunity was almost boundless. And unfortunately, he took his opportunity. And so that's what I'm talking about. If you with someone that's so good looking that that they're going to be able to nab the neighbor, the cashier at the grocery, all your friends. I mean, a lot of times people don't want to deal with that. So it's actually a fallacy that good looking people only go out and average people don't. Okay. So, yes, Betsy, I will answer your question, but I think Alice had a question first. Hi, Alice.
Hi, I actually have two questions. One
Okay.
is the eye contact. I noticed that the person I talked to, we already know each other for a while. When I talk to him or he talked to me, if I'm looking at him, he will look away. But I can tell if I don't look at him, he will look at me. What does that mean?
Um, it probably means that he's a little nervous.
But we already know each other for a while.
What do you think it means? What's your gut instinct?
I don't know. We're not talking something need to be shy or something. It's just regular conversation. When I look at him, he look away, and then I can feel that he was looking at me when I'm not looking at him.
I mean, I think that's partly shy. I mean, it could be a number of things. My first impulse is that it's shyness. But when you guys, if you've known him a long time, have you guys ever had like deep conversations?
We had some in the very beginning,
And
but after that, then just regular.
okay, was he able to give eye contact during a deep conversation?
Yes, in the very beginning, yes.
Oh, that's good. Well, you know, I mean, I'm assuming that it bothers you.
I just wonder why.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Curious.
I think, I sometimes I think people avoid eye contact when they have something to hide. But then again, psychopaths
Oh,
and sociopaths can do it, can do eye contact really well because
oh,
they have a certain aspect of their personality shut off. But you could ask him, but you'd have to make an
okay.
appointment, you know what I mean? But
Oh,
again, I
okay.
what happens if you just like persist with eye contact? Will he respond? If you try to
Think
seek his
so.
eyes?
I don't think so. We are
No.
very good friends, so I don't think he will purposely, but
Okay.
it's just weird.
It is.
Next time I
It's a
will
little
check.
off-putting, I think.
Yeah, next time
And
I'll
it
check
feels
with him.
like he's trying to hide something,
Oh,
right? But I don't
okay,
know. He could just be shy.
okay. Another thing, so the second thing is, I don't think it's a question, but it's comment about the look. No matter man or woman, we all like the person that looks good. But that I think that's in our mind, we think look good. Doesn't need to be the standard good looking like the guy you were talking about, the example.
Right.
Everyone thinks look good. Sometimes beauties are in the eyes of beholders.
A
We think this
hundred
person
percent.
look good. The
A
other person
hundred
may
percent.
not think so. But I totally agree. No matter man or woman, I believe men do the same. They will tend to talk to women who look better as well in their eyes.
Right, right. Well, you have to have chemistry, right?
Yes.
But a lot of times, what you respond to in another person is their energy. And I've worked with a number of clients who will say, she was beautiful, but I just wasn't attracted, or he was gorgeous, but he just didn't do it for me, because you really respond to somebody's energy. And a lot of times when we think somebody looks beautiful, I don't know if you've had this experience, but the person, you're with is like, him? Her?
Exactly,
Oh.
exactly. Yeah. Some people think that person is so attractive, but I don't feel that.
Right,
But when you say
exactly.
energy, does that mean the
Exactly.
person energetic or it's
Yes.
the
It means
because
there's some
not
kind of
everyone
energetic alignment with them if you find them
uh
attractive. Okay.
okay. That's my question.
Good questions.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for sharing. Okay. Betsy. Oh, did you raise?
Hello,
Hi,
there I am.
Betsy.
Hi.
How can I help
Um,
you?
well, first of all, I think it's awesome that there's guys on here trying to learn things because I wish more did that.
Oh
Um,
my God. Thank you for saying that. Do you know most of the time in these groups, not in my group, and I'm so proud of that actually. We have tons of guys in this group. But I have to say that the people who taught me this work and the groups I was in the past were all women. And so
mhm,
this is like so great. So thank you for pointing
yeah,
it out.
yeah, you're welcome. And so here's my deal as I've been in a relationship for about a little over a year. We met online. He pursued me. I was nomadic and traveling, and he would like travel to see me. And everything was very like romantic and lovey, and it seemed like really great. And we're still together, and we still love each other. We live apart. Um, and just over time, I mean, he's very busy. And he's just over time put less and less and less effort into the relationship. And when you're long distance, it's like you gotta
Yeah,
really put a little bit more into it.
agreed.
Our conversations are pretty short. Unless we have a conflict, then we'll talk a little bit longer. Um, but sometimes I don't hear from him at all. I know he loves me. He's loyal. He just doesn't show up. And then if I do get a little not upset, but if I bring up a topic that's bothering me and talk to him about it, he will talk about it, but then he kind of retracts, and then I won't hear from him.
Mm,
And we
okay.
recently went 3 days without any contact, and I finally called him and was like, "What's up? Like,
Okay.
what
Okay.
did I do to
Okay.
deserve like?" And and I wanted to say like the so he puts in minimal effort, then I'm gonna put in minimal effort because I don't want to be the man.
Right.
And so I put in less and less effort, and then it just slowly just dissolves into nothing.
Right.
So I have to go into my masculine and be like, hey,
Oh, so you
and
finally do put in effort. Okay.
I
Okay. So
do.
you've said so many things that I want to respond to.
Okay, great.
Okay. So the first one that I just want you to keep in mind as you're navigating this relationship and any relationship is that you only know how much you love yourself or anyone else by the commitments you're willing to make and keep. Because what I'm hearing is a drop off in commitments on his side, which is causing a drop off in commitments on your side to yourself. Because you already said, I committed myself. I'm not going to be the chaser, but then I go chase, right? So
Hmm.
just keep that in mind that behavior is also a language. So his behavior is saying something to you,
Yeah.
right? How long have you been together?
A little over a year.
Okay. And how do you guys have a schedule or how often do you see each other?
We see each other maybe every 2 or 3 months.
Okay, that's not enough.
Yeah.
My clients who are long distance shoot for every 2 weeks or at
Hmm.
least once a month. And then the ones that work, you have to be, like you're saying, show up for the phone calls, show up for the FaceTime, show up for the online movie date. Um,
Yeah, we don't
and
do any of that.
it's really important that you do that in any relationship, but like you were saying, in a long distance relationship, it's even more important because you're not together. All relationships go through different periods. And so you're kind of at, this is in my book too, but like the first 3 months is the perfect period. The second 3 months is the imperfect period. I'm going over it really fast. And then the next 6 months to 6 to 9 months is about, or 6 months to a year is when you're trying to negotiate whether or not this relationship is going to last. And you're kind of like bottoming out in that area right now. And it
Hmm.
doesn't sound like you're getting what you want.
No, not at all. But
Um,
there's not I'm 48. Like
so what do you mean I'm
I
48?
there's not much out there to choose
No, no,
from.
okay. Well,
He's also very attractive.
oh, well, that's nice.
It
Are
is,
you
but
guys exclusive?
yeah, totally.
Okay.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, there's a number of ways you can approach it. I suggest it sounds like you're not happy with the way things are going.
Hmm.
Um, so, you can either confront him or you can just kind of let it just drift away. Is it worth it to you to bring it up? Because I have a protocol of how to bring things up that
I
is
have brought it up
respectful. But
many
if you
times.
use the rubric that I teach, you might get
Okay.
a different result.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm assuming, do you want to be in the feminine energy or the masculine? You want
A
your feeling?
feminine.
Okay, you want your feelings cherished. That's what I thought. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to make an appointment. You have to make an appointment. So you say, "Hey, it could be during a phone call. You could text. I prefer you don't text him. It's better to to talk in person or on the phone."
Hmm.
So you'd say, "Hey, there's something I want to talk to you about us. I know it's going to be kind of awkward situation. Is now a good time? Or if not now, when?" Hopefully today, because you don't want to, have to sleep on it. So hopefully he says now, or he says 5 o'clock, or whatever he says. Then you're gonna say, um, when the meeting comes to put, when it starts, you're gonna say, "Hey, John, I just want you to know," and you're gonna lead with your feelings, and you're gonna praise his deeds or his thoughts or something that he did to make you feel good. "I've enjoyed getting to know you. I love when you send me flowers. That made me feel good when you said you were going to be coming out." Whatever it is. And maybe it'll come up naturally. Maybe he'll say, um, "Oh, I was going to come visit you. I'm going to come visit you." And then he says, "Oh, I can't come visit you," right?
Right.
"I love it when you come visit me. I love it when you come visit me. It's like makes my day and I'm so happy and we have such a great time together. So thank you so much. I mean, I know it takes a lot for you to leave your work or whatever it is, and then let him bask in that compliment. This rubric's called the stroke and stand. So this part's the stroke. You're going to stroke, give him a
Hmm.
compliment. Make it, when we respect men, they feel good. Okay. So you give him some respect. Then you're going to say, "But I felt so sad when you said you're not coming out because, that just, I miss you. What do you think about, you know, changing your plan or coming up with an alternate plan or what do you think?" You could just even just ask him, "What do you think?" So you express your feelings, solicit his thoughts. Okay.
Hmm.
If he has no idea about it and he's just like, "I don't know," you can say, "Well, I have an idea. Do you want to hear it? I have an idea of something that might make me feel better." "Okay, what?" "Well, when you cancel, if you could come up with a new plan, that would probably make me feel better." Something like that. If you have
Hmm.
an idea. So then we're going to see what his reaction is. If his reaction is um to yell and scream at you, well, that's unfortunate, but then that will give us a lot of information.
That's what he usually does.
He
He
yells,
gets he gets upset.
he gets
Yeah.
upset. Okay.
Yeah.
So he feels threatened, and you say, "You're not going to take the bait, okay? You're not going to get into a fight. You're not going to go back and forth over it. You're going to
Hmm.
express your feelings once, maybe twice, and then you're going to go, okay, you guys might have to agree to disagree." But you might also let him know what the price tag is of that. "Okay, you have every right not to come. You're 100%, I hear you. But please understand, I don't know if I can stay with somebody who actually doesn't want to come visit me or doesn't visit me twice a month or whatever it is. Because everything we do has a price and a price tag. Again, that's part of the duality that we live with here on this planet.
Hmm.
Whether you articulate what the price and the price tag is to him is up to you. I suggest you do if you want him to give him a chance to change. But he is not doing that for you. His communication isn't
Yeah.
that great, right? You
Right.
tell him you're bothered about something, and you already know the price tag for you is going to be he's going to pull away,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
But I'm curious if you use these tools and you do it respectfully using the stroke and stand, if he has the same reaction. We have to find
Okay.
out how invested he is and if he's teachable. A lot of times when I introduce this work to a woman and she uses it, she does get a different response from the dude. But sometimes you don't. So we're just going to have to see how he responds.
Hmm.
Even if he's angry in the moment or if he's great in the moment, that's not going to matter as much as what his behavior is after, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And try to make I statements. Try not to say you, you, you. Don't should
Hmm.
on him. Don't shame him. We're not going to try to control him. This is just a statement. You're going to accept him or reject him. And this is part of finding that information out if he's worth it. We're going to find out if he cares about cherishing your feelings or not when you tell him how you feel.
Hmm. Okay.
Okay? So try that and let me know how it goes.
Okay. Thanks so much.
You are so welcome. And I know it sounds scary, but you might get a different response. Okay. I'm reading some of these questions. Okay, Angela. I have a question about a breakup in December. Is Angela here? Yes, okay. I was healing, then he reappeared. Makeup intimacy was amazing love confirmed. Then he ghosted me already. Okay. As a dismissive avoidant, I'm hurting, having a hard time. I was masculine lots in response. He ignored all any insight. Okay. Hi, Angela.
Hi, thanks for unmuting me and thanks for taking my question.
Oh, you're welcome. Welcome here. And let's see. Okay. So you dated this guy. How long had you been dating before you broke up in December?
It was about 7 months.
And why did you break up?
He just was so overwhelmed with work. He had to fire 5 guys, and he owns like a very big business and three different locations. And he simply said that he needed to really focus on his business I deserved. And he couldn't split his energy anymore.
So he
Um,
dumped you at Christmas.
Pretty much 2 weeks
Yeah.
before, and
Okay.
I was really crushed, but not near as much as I was crushed when he showed up on my doorstep on February 19th. He just texted me out of the blue and said, I want to talk to you. I want to see you. I need to see you. And I was just like, no, it's not good. It's not a good idea. Not a good idea. And sure enough, he showed up at 9:30 p.m. And I was just like, not it wasn't like we started kissing. I just said I don't feel emotionally safe and I don't understand what you're doing here. He's like, I don't really know either, but I know that I need to be here. And we just talked and it felt, and then it was super great, like him calling me all the time, for that small little window. I'm talking all day long.
Right.
Like texting all day. It was just
So you
massive.
didn't even feel like you needed to say we're boyfriend and girlfriend or anything.
Oh no, we didn't even, it wasn't even, it was just like we're figuring us out. And it was just like, sexual healing. He sent me that song and it was just like all this, whatever. And I said,
Yeah.
he said, it's my job to make you emotionally safe now.
Yes.
And then
Then he bailed.
March 4th, literally, I have sent him letters in the mail. I've sent him emails. I've sent him everything. And I stepped up because I'm like, he is a dismissive avoidant. I know his story. It's pretty massive. He didn't feel loved when he was a child, da da da. And then I see him online with a picture of us in Vegas, but I'm cut out, of course. But
Mm.
he's shining because he's the happiest he's ever been. That trip was amazing. And I'm just so like, oh,
Okay. 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 So he
it's,
sounds very gamey and very toxic.
yeah. Thank you. Oh my gosh.
Um, so, good riddance to bad trash, but I do think he's going to come back around. So be
I'm sorry,
prepared.
say that word again.
I
What
said
did you just
good
say?
riddance to bad trash, but I do think he's going to come back around.
Oh God. Okay.
Yeah. So prepare yourself.
Well, that's the thing. I kind of have this small little hope. Oh God, I hope, I hope, I hope.
Right.
And it's so codependent. And I've already been worked through all that with the counselors and the certified.
Right.
I was
Right.
married
Right.
for 20 years and single for 4. And I was on the healing journey and now I'm back to square
Well,
one.
don't be too hard on yourself because the
Okay.
healing journey is a journey of repetition. And
Yeah.
we only really heal in the context of a relationship. I mean, we can do a certain amount of healing on our own, but then we have to get out in our relationship and see how we really are. And I know it's frustrating, but I don't know. You fall down like thousands and tens of thousands of times before you learn to walk. It's
Yeah.
just the nature of learning that it requires a lot of repetition. You got sucked into this guy again.
Yeah.
He obviously is a love bomber,
Mm.
but part of it is your responsibility because at some point you understood pain and love to be intertwined. Otherwise, you wouldn't sign up for this.
Ooh,
If
that's
you were
good.
super healthy, right?
Uh-huh.
I have clients, this would happen, they would never even look at this guy. Again, it's the energy. So
Yeah.
part of, we always pick our lesson. We always fall in love with our lesson. So part of his energy is teaching you a lesson. That doesn't mean
Yeah.
you need to be with him, but this has taught you a lesson. One thing I want you to be careful of is having intercourse with somebody before you have that articulated commitment. Because when women have intercourse before menopause, especially anal, oral, or vaginal, we tend to bond. Now, it doesn't always happen, but it often happens. And then you can be bonded for up to 2 years going through oxytocin detox to somebody even you know isn't good for you.
Oh, wow. So even if I don't talk to, even if someone didn't talk to him, and I was really careful. No, I'm not having sex with you. I'm not having sex. And there was oral sex and I told him, I don't feel like I can give to you right now. And he's just like, I understand, but I
Oh,
want to give
good.
to
You didn't
you.
do it. Okay, good.
No, no, no. I said, I want to give, he said, I want to give to you.
Okay,
And
well,
then,
that's okay. He can give to you. You can give him a hand job, but don't do the actual intercourse
oh no, I did not. I
until
refrained that
okay,
whole
good, till
time.
you have the
Real,
relationship.
that little
Because,
window. Yeah.
um, like I said, you can be bonded to somebody even you know isn't good for you.
Yeah. Wow, this is so powerful. This is really good information.
Yeah, this is going to really help you. So, and then I would say, you stay away from him. Usually they come back within about 8 weeks. And
Oh
so what
gosh.
he did, this is almost exactly 8 weeks, what he did the first time around, right? Because 8 weeks is a period of time. I talk about this a lot. You see this a lot in psychology. 8 weeks is a period of time it takes for the heart and the head to ruminate.
Okay.
And so anytime, if you had been my client at the time that he originally dumped you, I would have said, okay, he's got 8 weeks. And look at him.
Oh gosh.
Came back right at the 8 weeks.
Interesting. Because, I did kind of sin again to make the masculine move, but, I saw him online and I did click, swipe to the right because that is how we met, like just mostly hinting, hey, want to try again, want to start
Mhm.
over. And it
Right.
was really, and that was just like Monday, I think. And I keep looking, oh my gosh, did he? No, there's only 289 other guys, but not that guy, you know?
Right. And don't do that to yourself. See, that's
Yeah.
where the pain addiction is showing up.
Yeah.
Why do you want him to come back? He treated you horribly 2 times in a row.
Yeah, I know. It's just like it's just
Once, okay. Bet there were signs the first time, but okay, I'll give you once. But the second time,
yeah. It's just
you're done with him now.
yeah, and then
But that's where I want you to look, just be aware of yourself.
okay.
Because healthy people don't try to convince people to
Yeah.
like them.
Yeah. I mean, why
Healthy
am I
people, if
chasing him?
someone likes them, don't like them, they walk away.
Yeah. That's crazy. I don't know what's
But
going
I mean,
on.
I was just like you. And a lot of people are like that. That's the script of I only like people who don't like me, and I people who like me I never like. A lot of people have that script with dating. And it's just a script, meaning it's just a falsely held belief from childhood trauma.
Mm,
But people get very wedded to that, and then that's all you can see. Because if you're looking to fit a script, you'll be able to do it. You can construct a story out of anything. So
yeah.
going forward in your relationships, I want you to be conscious of the men who are cherishing your feelings. This guy very, very blatantly disregarded your feelings.
Oh my
So
gosh.
that's a deal breaker for you as a
Yeah,
woman. Okay?
absolutely. Okay, thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Thank you for your question, because that's a really common problem, actually.
Hi, Chloe. So
Hi.
if you could take one more, it'd be Valentino. She's the
Okay,
last.
last one. Okay. Hi, Valentino. Oops, sorry. Can you unmute? I think I muted you on accident. I can't hear you if you're talking.
Unmuted now.
Yes, I can hear you. Okay. Shoot.
My question is, many times I would meet ladies, at social venues, and I would get the phone number, But what seems to be a common theme is after I would text them or call sometimes, really it may go back and forth about two or three more times and then it kind of fades away. And usually, I think what I have heard is usually it's kind of like really boring, like, oh, how was your day? And she may respond, great, how was your day? Oh, how was your day? And great, how was your day? But there was a couple of times when I kind of tried to be a little more creative. For example, I met a woman who was she was originally from Persia or Iran, and I'm a ancient Roman soldier reenactor. So I was playing back and forth with her, calling her, the Queen of Persia,
Mm-hmm.
and I was the Roman centurion,
Mm-hmm.
and we were going back and forth a little bit more creative with that. But you know what? That's a kind of a minor question because I probably is my creativity. But
Well,
late,
it's one of those things where it's like, it's hard to get a conversation going with a complete stranger over text. It's hard enough in person, right? So I would just limit the texts and try to get to that in-person meeting.
okay,
Don't just try to keep going with the texting. Say, you know, I enjoyed meeting you. I want to take you to dinner. How do you feel about that, right? Lead with your ideas. Ask about her feelings.
right. Well, one thing about that in the beginning, I have learned not to go for dinner so like in the beginning because dinner is about 2 hours long. And if you're not vibing within the first 30 minutes, it's going to
Okay,
be a
well, do
very
the coffee then. Do a
good.
walk.
All right.
Pick something else, but just try to get to the in person because I think it's just going to be too much of a mountain to climb to try to get tons of conversation going over text.
Right.
First of all,
Gotcha.
women in general don't love texting.
Okay.
They prefer either talking on the phone or meeting in person.
Okay.
So
Thank
just
you.
try to get to that in-person meeting. You're
Okay.
welcome. You are so welcome.
This other question I have is super quick. I'm 44. I will be 45 in June. And I think when I was more younger, in my 20s and 30s, I was hanging out with my friends. We would go to clubs. I would get numbers, and then it would be pretty okay. But lately, since I'm in my 40s and I'm kind of a little more attracted to people a little bit younger, maybe in their 30s, maybe I'm in different venues and I'm not collecting phone numbers as much as I used to. Maybe I look older, but people like women my age, they look not not I'm not saying all, but they're not that all that attractive to me. Maybe they got gained weight or something like maybe they had kids, things like that, which is understandable. But also, I've met a woman or two who's actually older who are absolutely attractive. Um, but
Well, yeah, I mean, be careful. You don't want to get into too much ageism there. That's not going to make you popular with women. A. But B,
okay,
you don't need numbers. You just need one. So I wouldn't be concerned that like I used to get 20 numbers. Now I'm lucky if I get two. Who cares? You just need one person. So I would focus in a little bit more on the quality and not be too concerned about the quantity.
okay. I'm also a little bit open to and a little bit kind of like non-monogamous, curious. I think you'd call
Okay. Well, again, that's going to be a little bit harder to find, but there are those people and there are those groups on Meetup. Okay, I'm going, we're now at 7. Um, Polyamory isn't real, like it's something you can experiment with. I have no judgment about it, but it's not something that I think is necessarily conducive to relationships. So, I'm just gonna leave it there. You guys know where I am. I'm usually here on Thursday night. Please excuse me. I know I didn't get to everybody's question, but I will be here next week. I also teach this work in live sessions and asynchronously. I teach my 4 books. If you're interested in that, that's module packages. All my books are there on Amazon, and I also do privates. I work with men, I work with women, I work with couples, I work with teenagers. So you can also reach out to me through my website if you want a private. And I will speak to you again soon, I hope. Have a good night.